On this episode of the Construction Dorkcast, we welcome back our good friend Mike Zivanovic of Faro. Anyone that knows Mike knows of his passion for the industry, specifically for the folks in the field. This conversation was heavy with that theme and fired us all up once again as we prepare for the 2024 MEP Innovations Conference. And we're live. Welcome into of the Construction Dorks podcast, the Fellowship of the Pipe with Mike Zivanovic from Faro. It's great to see you guys again. We're sort of finally kind of getting onto almost a regular schedule. So let's go ahead and I'll kick us right off. I am drinking tonight. I had a little fun insurance phone calls that I had to make today, so needed to bust out the bourbon. Went a little. I guess I would say it's a basic bourbon, but it's really good. I really like this Basil Hayden. It's a good one. What about you, Trent? You drinking tonight?
No. So still going strong on the program here at the beginning of this year. So gonna be dry. I've got a cup over here with some ice and some good old Coke Zero once again. So I'll be boring. I'll be pretty boring here for the next. I think I've got.
You gotta ride that aspartame high.
Yeah, I got like 55 more days, and then we'll have a show where I can report something a little different. But what about you, John? I'm sure you sounded frustrated earlier, so I don't know.
Yeah, I had an awesome, just a totally awesome day. My wife made me a Negroni. So a Negroni is like sweet vermouth, gin, and Campari, and it's pretty damn good. Like she drinks them a lot, and I always thought they were a little bit too floral or herbal in their taste. And then all of a sudden, and it's just like Scotch. It's like I didn't like it, and then it's like wait, that's kind of what I'm in the mood for. So I'm gonna have a Negroni. I had a bit of a longer day than I wanted to have, and even after the podcast, I will be working for a little bit. So not on anything important because I'm not building buildings. How about that? Not drinking and building. Don't drink and build. Mikey, you look like you're sitting in a fancy place. Did you pick up a drink, or are you going with something else today?
Good question. Yeah, I'm in Las Vegas, so for World of Concrete, and I'm actually not a big drinker. So if you catch me at a conference, I'll have a few with you. But this week I've only had one glass of wine, so I'm a tea guy. So I've got a wonderful Mint Majesty from Starbucks. But if you catch me on here, I don't drink coffee. Stopped coffee 5 years ago, so I love loose leaf teas, and I'm a tea snob. Wow. So I think every episode you'll catch me with a nice green tea or white tea or oolong tea. But today it's a nice Mint Majesty from Starbucks.
Man,
right on.
No coffee for 5 years. That
5 years,
yeah.
First thing I've ever done. I quit smoking 7 years ago, and I was a pack-a-day smoker 7 years ago. I quit that, and quitting coffee was 10 times.
I believe it. That would be a tough one.
That's really tough.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I know we were gonna. You are very passionate about the guys in the field, and that's what's the main topic that we want to talk about. But I wanted to pick your brain quick because I haven't been to World of Concrete. Can you tell us a little bit about that show?
Yeah, so and you know what, this is my first World of Concrete also. So this is the 50th year for it. It's at the Las Vegas Convention Center. It takes up all of the halls, 60,000 people.
Oh, geez.
It's an absolutely enormous show, and it's the World of Concrete. And I mean, I was just walking into it. We're all used to Autodesk University as kind of our big show of the year, which is 10 to 12,000 people. And getting off the monorail and going down the escalator and just seeing the magnitude of it was awesome. That's the only way I could explain it. And you know what, Travis, great question. It's a show full of end users, GCs, subs, people that 80% of the people there are walking around in work boots, and these are the people that are using concrete, on a daily basis. So I mean, unbelievable conversations this week with people about concrete and floor flatness and floor level and technology. It's just, even though it's not an MEP show, it's something that if you're in town or you're in the area, you got to stop at a World of. I mean, it was such a great experience so far.
I want to dig into that a little bit. I don't even want to leave this topic for a second because this never happens. So you just mentioned technology. So highlight a little bit of that. Like, I guess, like, let's talk about a little bit of the cool tech you're seeing in the concrete world. I mean, like, there's got to be some things that we don't ever talk about.
Yeah. And that great question, Trent. And listen, I'm an MEP guy, right? So I'm learning a tremendous amount while I'm here. But in the tech space, there's a tech area at the show, and we're seeing all the major players. We're seeing Faro, we're seeing Trimble, we're seeing Leica, we're seeing Raykin, we're seeing DeWalt Technology Group. They're all here, right? They're all showing off their products in Milwaukee. All the major brands, they're all here. There's a large tech area. We're seeing a lot with floor flatness and floor leveling. So these concrete contractors, they're going out on job sites. There's the ASTM 1155 report that they have to submit for floor flatness, and the technology around it is just, it's growing. So we're able to really introduce, reality capture, not only from us, but from all the vendors out here, all the partners that are in the space. People are doing great stuff with that. They're putting sensors inside of concrete to show, once they're in post tension, what that concrete looks like and how it's curing. And again, one thing I'm good at is showing humility and saying when I don't know something, and I'm here learning a tremendous amount this week. But that's what it is. And what's awesome about it is people are coming up to our booths and they're showing humility. They're saying, "Hey, I don't know anything about technology. I'm just a concrete guy. What is this?" And they're genuinely listening to you, and they're getting excited when you're telling them about this stuff. And I'm like, this is amazing, So it's really been cool. But that's what I'm seeing. A lot with floor flatness, a lot with robotic total stations, layout, HP here with their Cyprint robot, and then what they're doing with that, where they're just kind of, that robot's going around doing layout for them on concrete. They're really making leaps and bounds with that. Really impressive stuff, though. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you.
Mikey, you've been on the show, I think twice before. But for people that don't know you, can you give an introduction to yourself, where you are now, and sort of tell us a little bit about your past?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a Chicago guy, born and raised. I don't know if I have an accent. I don't think I do, but people sometimes tell me I do.
It's waning over the years. It's not as thick as it used to be.
Good. That's a good thing. So, I love Chicago, but yeah, I've been in there 40 years in Chicago. I recently moved to Florida. So a few months ago, I moved down to Naples, Florida. So I'm taking a part of the Sunshine State now, but I've been a UA pipe fitter out of Chicago, local 597 for the last 12 years. So UA member, still hold my card, still a proud UA member, and got into construction at 29 years old. Did some tech before that. Went to school for programming and networking at DeVry and really loved it. Started learning AutoCAD in 6th grade, one of those typical stories. But was in retail. And at 29 years old, I made a choice to go into the pipe fitters and check it out. Never worked in the field, never worked construction. And I gave it a chance, When I got in, I was fortunate enough to get in, first generation pipe fitter, and absolutely amazing. Changed my life. And shortly after getting into the fitters, I saw a little bit of a gap in technology, right? I saw some drawings and I saw it hand drawn, and I thought, well, I know AutoCAD. Like, how hard can it be to draw this stuff? And I was given the opportunity to take on technology at an early part in my career with the pipe fitters. And fortunately, I was able to lead the technology program for 7 years with 597, and immediately got a great group of guys around me, guys and girls, brothers and sisters, to help me lift this program off the ground. Started out really slow, not too successful, but it grew into a 180-hour Revit program out of the local Trimble class, Faro class, Bluebeam class, mobile technology class, and advanced plan reading and layout class. And we started with nobody in our classes, with nobody signing up, to 5 years later having 40, 50 people on a wait list with two Revit labs of 18 seats going at once. So very fortunate there. I was 6 years ago brought into the UA's national tech team, travel around the country evangelizing technology for the UA on a national level. And you know what? That's what I love doing. I love evangelizing, public speaking. I love technology. And I've been using Faro product for the last 7 years in the UA. And over a year and a half ago, they invited me to come look at their company. And I took on a position as a senior solutions architect with Faro a year ago. It's been absolutely amazing. I love the company. It's been great. The team is great. Great product that I believe in, and yeah. So I work fully remote. So I always said if I worked remote, I would go somewhere warm. So made the move down to Naples, and things are just really good. So thought that was kind of a good, not too boring
Right
intro on who I am.
No, it was real good, and I think that your background, particularly with the UA, it speaks to what we were talking about before we started to record the podcast. Is the passion that you have, and the passion for folks like you that have for the folks in the field. Kind of similar to World of Concrete. I was at AHR this week, my first time at that show, and that thing is enormous as well. But while I was in the city, I took the opportunity to visit Local 73 there, the Sheet Metal Workers Union, and got a tour from a gentleman by name of Cliff Brooks, and he reminded me a lot of you. Like he could have spent. We were there for 2 hours. He could have spent 16 more just talking about his love. Can you just start digging in that a little bit? Like talk about your passion for the folks for the field and where that comes from and how you see yourself.
Yeah, and here's what I realized. Here's my personal experience from when I got in the field. And as a pipe fitter out of Chicago, I was immediately kind of thrown into the heavy industrial side. So refineries, steel mills, power plants, things like that. I didn't do much work on the commercial side in high rises and in hospitals. So I was a heavy industrial pipe fitter. And as you can imagine, heavy industrial guys, there's not much at the time. There wasn't much technology in steel mills and refineries, things like that. You saw a little bit, and not only that, but it's the generations of workers that are there. A lot of them are older generations. As we know, construction, the average age in construction is not 25 years old. It's in the last time I checked, I think it was late 30s, maybe even 40s on a national level. So a lot of these people grew up without technology in the workplace. So here's what I noticed. When I got out there, I saw there was a need for it. And I immediately noticed that one thing that resonates with me is you're scared of what you don't know. So I felt like the reason this wasn't being embraced was because trades workers, and I think all of us in general, not only in the trades, we want to be accepted by our peers. We want to be pack animals. We want to be one of the crew, And if you don't know something, or I guess if you perceive weakness, you may be theoretically, pushed out of the pack. And that's one thing they don't want to happen in construction. When you're out there in the field and you're one of the guys and the girls out there, shoulder to shoulder with the people and on the job site, you want to be accepted. You want to be one of them. You want to be part of it. And again, you're scared of what you don't know. So a lot of them, I think, when they saw technology, they were intimidated by it. Maybe they saw the value, maybe they were interested in it or piqued their interest, but it was one of those, hey, we've been doing it this way forever. It works, which it does. Technology is not always the answer. A lot of the things they do, they've been successful with it for a couple of 100 years for a reason, because they've learned how to do it without it. So a part of it's like, hey, the shoe already fits. It's been working this way forever. You're scared of what you don't know. So all of those things were kind of creating this perfect storm of pushback. So I was like, well, it's my job to implement technology here. So how do I do it without disrupting the momentum that's in the field at the moment, and without, for lack of a better term, just pissing people off, right? And like one thing you mentioned just a little bit ago, Travis, when you were having that conversation, and they could have gone for another 16 hours. And I think the reason is because you were showing interest, not only in, they weren't showing interest in you, but it was a two-way road. So when I found a technology that I thought that would work, and here's a quick example: PlanGrid, early PlanGrid, before, like, this is 8 years ago, PlanGrid, before they got acquired by Autodesk. I was testing it out on a job site at a paper mill, and I knew it would work. I knew that we could load the drawings on there. I knew that we couldn't even load the BIM model on there yet. This was just drawing and annotations only on PlanGrid. But we were having paper sets out there with the proverbial coffee ring on it, and packages are getting updated, things are getting lost. It was a problem. So long story short, I got PlanGrid. I got the owner to buy into it. I got it loaded on iPads on the job site. I took it out to a foreman who was in his 50s, getting ready to retire. And I went up to him and I said, listen, you've been doing it this way forever. Here's a new way how to do it. I need you to show me how this will work. I knew how it would work. But what I did is I put it in their court. Let me explain the technology to you. Give me 5 minutes just to give you an overview of what it does. But then I want you to tell me how you would implement it. I'm not going to tell you. I want you to tell me. So you're giving them the ownership. You're enabling them to use their knowledge and use their wisdom to show you how they would technically use it. So I just showed them a couple things. Hey, this is your drawing on plan grid, just like it is on your print table here. You can highlight this with a cloud, make an annotation. Where would you use that? And he's like, well, I would A, B, and C. And I'm like, that's awesome. Well, how about this? Would you use this over there? Yeah, I could definitely use that. Well, you know what? Here's the iPad. Don't throw out the paper drawings yet. Just take a look at it, kind of play with it here and there. Fast forward a month, drawings are off the job site. All iPads, 100% iPads, no paper drawings, because I took that method of enabling them to use their knowledge, their experience, their gut instinct on how this technology would work. And that was it. Very simple answer. As long as you show interest, you show humility, you show it's a two-way road, you're opening that communication. That's what I used to be successful in. And I hope that answers your question, but that's what I did. And that's what worked for me.
I have a piggyback question for you, Mike. One of the things, I was talking to a foreman just recently, and I asked him about a technology that he showed a lot of interest in, and I said, just real quick, tell me why it never got off the ground. And he said, well, we never got any time to train or practice with it. And he said, the amount of pressure that I have on this job, he says, it's already a 10-hour day. He says, I can't learn anything right now if you bring it to me here. He says, right here is not the place. So how much do you think pressure, we're putting more and more pressure on our field technicians, like more and more each year, we have less and less to do, more and more work. That's why we're saying, hey, to use technology. But his comment to me was that there's just too much immediacy of pressure during his workday. How do you see that playing in?
Here's the hard part on that. And this is where I think a lot of people who want to introduce technology, where they fail. And I think that if you implement anything new, the one thing we don't want to do is disrupt any momentum you have. I've already said it. The buzzwords that I say all the time are momentum, productivity, and efficiency. You're going to hear me say that a million times from now until hopefully, God willing, the day I retire. Those are the things that are important to me. If I take any solutions, you could pick any technology solution, and we decide we're going to implement that. We're going to spend a lot of money, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, and we're going to introduce it in the field. If you invest in that technology and you just give it to them and you say, here you go, 99% chance you're going to fail. So what I think, my opinion is, you need a champion, whatever that is on that side. And I'll just take an example at Faro. You buy one of our products, it comes with a free training. We're going to come out to you or at one of our facilities, and we're going to train you for 3 days on our product to make sure you know how to use it. But before I do a training, and that's what I do at Faro, I'm a solutions architect, I do a lot of training, I identify who is the champion at your company. Who is the person that is going to take this head on and be my direct source of communication? Because if you don't have that person, this is going to fail. So I need you to tell me who that person is. And once they do, I partner with that person and I say, hey, you are the person that's going to have to go to the field for these micro 10-minute learnings. When I went out to the field and I met with that foreman who was 50 years old, his name was Roy. When I met with him, it was 10-minute micro burst sessions. They have so much going on. We can't give them the fire hose of information because they're going to forget most of it. It was 2 to 3 days a week, little micro 10-minute sessions on one additional feature. The first time I showed them Plan Grid, I didn't show them how to do measurements or scaling or things like that. I showed them how to pull up a drawing and how to annotate it. That was it. 3 days later, Roy, how's it going? It's going great. Let me show you those again. But also let me show you that you could scale this drawing and actually pull dimensions. Did you know that? No, that was awesome. Cool. No problem. Showed it to him. I'll see you later. Well, can it do this? Yeah, but you know what? Don't worry about that right now. We'll talk about that next week. Little micro. So you're not going to be able to pull people out of the field. You're not going to, to do the lunch and learns and all that. It's great. It works sometimes, but you're going to have to get out there. You're going to have to find those pockets of 10 minutes where you can just get with them, show them something quick, and then move on. And listen, there are instances where you're going to have to bring everybody in and schedule big learning and meetings, and that's fine too. But I think the brunt of it, John, is you're going to have to just find the champion, your VDC manager probably, and they're going to have to get boots on the ground they're going to have to get out there and they're going to have to work with those people. There's no secret recipe behind it.
Yeah, even if you get them out of the field and into the office, their mind is in the field. I mean, they're so distracted. It's yeah, it's funny, that, and that's what makes what we do so hard is predictability is very important, to somebody who's been seasoned in that trade for a long time. And the reason they shy away from new things is construction is already a very unpredictable job. It's a very unpredictable task as a whole. And these guys have molded a workflow around that for years.
Yep.
I mean, they've made a method of how they compartmentalize that and handle that, that ever-changing task that they have. And when you're trying, when you come with them with new solutions in their mind, they're like, well, look, it took me 10 years of getting my ass kicked to figure this out to the point where I haven't gotten my ass kicked for the past 10 years. You're going to try and take that away from me. And I don't like that. I don't want my ass kicked anymore. Like I had to learn how to not have that happen. It's the unpredictability, and I don't blame them. I mean, that's really tough. It's a tough gig. They're under a lot of pressure. They spend a lot of time learning how to be good at what they do, and they don't want to lose that. I mean, you have to assure them.
And to your point, Trent, what you first said, and I remember visiting you a few years ago in Indianapolis. I came out to your office, and you and a couple foremen in the office, and we were talking about Stratus, and I felt like we had great conversation there. But the real conversation took place when we went out to the fab shop. That's where all the learning took place. That's where the magic moments took place. That's where the light bulbs went off. When your field guys were in their environment where they were comfortable and they didn't feel like they were in an unnatural environment. They were comfortable in that fab shop. That was their home. They know where every single thing is. I mean, that's their place. So I think you're right. Like you said, to bring the guys and girls into the office to do all of this, there's a time and a place for it. I definitely believe that. I was with a heavy industrial contractor, Morrison Construction, and when we scanned an entire blast furnace, modeled 22,000 feet of pipe in a blast furnace. When we were modeling some of that pipe, we brought those GFs into the office when we were modeling inside the point cloud so they can help us route the pipe to make it, this was 100% prefab. In that instance, we brought them in there for a specific purpose. We need you to come in. You're the subject matter expert in the field. Sit down with our VDC guy, and you guys route this stuff together so that we have transparency across the whole team. And it was an absolute success. So there are times, but got to get in their comfort zone. We need to adapt to them.
I want to pull on this thread a little bit more because I think in the last few episodes we've talked a lot. I think that contractors get a lot of flack for being risk adverse, and I think we've turned that on the head. Like, contractors are good. Contractors know that the money is where the risk is, but once they accept that risk, then the whole job is about the predictability and managing that risk. And I think that what you just said there, Mike, takes that to another level where we just show them that the tools that we're trying to give to them are actually bringing more predictability, right? But again, to your earlier point too, it's kind of this interesting dynamic where if you disrupt the workflow, that puts unpredictability into the workflow, but you're trying to give them tools that are being predictable.
So that's what we're doing is we're giving them and what we're doing is us and them, we're looking at it from two different lenses. Our lens is that we see the predictability. We see the proficiency, productivity, and efficiency gain. We see how apparent that is, and we're screaming it from the mountaintops of how this will change their lives, and we see it and we just want them to realize it. The lens they're looking at it from is that you have something that is unnatural that can potentially disturb my momentum and the predictability of what I've established.
My livelihood.
Yes. Literally, right?
My family, my everything. Yeah, exactly.
So and they're looking at it like, I get what you're doing. I understand. This is all cool. But like Trent just said, if we're going to peel it back to its base, most principal core, you're messing with my money. You're messing with my job here. And I am not comfortable with that. And so the magic question is, I get it, but how do we break down that barrier of trust and of the non-trust? And listen, it's easy. I could pull a Steve Jobs out here and say that, mistakes are okay because it means decisions are being made. Like we could throw all those like quotes out there and, go on, just scroll on LinkedIn for 10 minutes. We'll find all the ones we need, but
Right.
the thing is, Trent, you made a great point. We need to figure out a way that we can get with them, maybe try to peek through their lens a little bit and say, okay, they have a good point. How do we do this? And the way I found that worked for me, doesn't work for everybody, is by me going out to the field, me getting in their comfort zone, me understanding where their concerns are, figuring a way to go around that. And for me, it was showing humility, showing them the technology and asking them, how would you make this work? You're the one that's going to be responsible for it. You tell me how to be successful with it. I'm not going to tell you. You tell me how it's going to work. And it worked for me,
I have an interesting question for both you and Trent, and it's a little uncomfortable, I guess. So when I was moving from AutoCAD to Revit, all right, I had 20 years in AutoCAD probably. I mean, I'm like literally my entire career was AutoCAD. And when I started to move to Revit, what I was moving there for was I said, I won't be able to have a career beyond a due date. There's this date, there's this line in the sand. And if I don't learn this X skill before that line in the sand, then like you said, my family, all of that goes. Do you think there is a line in the sand happening now? And the only reason I ask is been doing a lot of polling lately going into MEP. And what I'm seeing is since COVID really, there's been a massive acceleration of both these younger guys that do understand the technology coming onto the job site, and I'm going to call it an inappropriate push from technology onto the job site where it's very aggressive. And I disagree with the push, but do you think there is now, enough urgency or a line in the sand that does start to change that dynamic of, hey, we can wait?
Well, let me ask you guys a question, and I want you guys to answer this question.
I have an opinion too, so yeah.
Find me a MEP contractor that does 30 million plus a year. Okay, we know the range; it can go 30 million up to the 500 million $1 billion, right? Find me an MEP contractor doing 30 million plus that uses zero technology and is trending in a positive direction. And I'm talking zero. I'm talking no mobile devices, no digital prints, no layout, no way to do any type of PM software, Procore, anything like that, Autodesk Construction Cloud, no robotic total stations, no laser scanning, no computers in their office that can do any CAD work. They're still estimating on tally sheets with no estimating solutions. I'm sure there's one out there. Obviously somebody out there is going to prove me wrong and they're going to tell me that I'm full of crap, but how many of them will be successful in the next 5 years? Tell me.
Yeah, I'd say zero.
We love to say zero. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
somebody could probably prove us wrong, but yeah, I understand.
Will, and yeah. I hope they do. I mean, I'll be the first person to raise my hand and say, I'm sorry, you're right. I have no problem admitting failure or that I'm wrong. But that's what I'm saying, John, is that these, I hate to be the person that says you got to keep up or get left behind. But man, that's them. That's a reality right now. I'm not saying you have to invest in every piece of technology out there. Pick what's good for you, but you got to get involved. How many of these jobs that are getting leased for bid? Hey, if you want to go on this job, here's a Procore login. You got to use AutoWord. This is what we're using for our documentation. You have to come to coordination meetings. You have to have somebody there, right? We have to be a part of these things.
Yeah.
Trent, I know you had an opinion.
Yeah, I think that, and this will go into some psychology too a little bit, I think, and I think there is a natural progression, and I do think that you see companies continue to, especially the ones that have been around for a long time. These people have innovated for a long time, and I think it's hard for us to see where they came from a long time ago. But when that business owner was a young lad, maybe came into business leadership in that company in his late 20s, early 30s, even actually in that generation, probably younger than we're even used to, coming into something like that. And I think when you're younger like that, your vision is far. you're looking out further, right? Just
Right.
naturally the way you think. I think the older you get, your vision starts to pull in. And I think there's that progression. They started that company a long time ago, and where they came from there was a ton of innovation. I mean, when you just look at like tools, the way the business operates, like not the tech that we think about in this podcast, but stuff, they've pushed it along. So I think the progression is when you see the new youth come in and take over some of the leadership positions in these companies, you get that farsightedness again. And you start to see the new age innovation come in. And that's the stuff that we all like to talk about, right? Because it's where we are now. But innovation has always happened. Let's not forget that. And those people are, I would even argue, that generation had to know a lot more than we even have to know now. So they're probably smarter than we are. Yeah. So that's not what I'm arguing. But if you have someone, in like up there in years that's still running those departments, their vision's going to be a little shorter, I think. I mean, it's the way we think, and I'm not trying to demonize them. I think it's that's just natural. It's it's what we do. I mean.
And I think the reason you're saying that is not because you're demonizing them. It's because you genuinely care about this industry and technology around it, and you're just saying how you feel, and there should be nothing wrong with that. And I take a page out of, I used to work for Morrison Construction, 100-year-old heavy industrial company. Company's been around 100 years. I mean, that's a feat in itself, is obviously very impressive. Their senior leadership sat down, the owners who've been there forever, sat down and said, if we want to survive another 100 years, what is it going to take? And technology was a huge part of that conversation. So they said, we will go all in on this. If that's what it's going to take for us to go another 100 years, we will invest in technology. So it's not just scanners and total stations. It's 6-axis plasma cutters. It's automated welders. It's modernizing your fab shop. It's employing their staff with the latest and greatest methods to get information. I mean, they made that push because, like you said, Trent, even though the owners are almost on the way out, they looked down the line. They looked 100 years down the road and said, how do we preserve this for the next people behind us? And I think that's the question you probably should be asking, is how do we secure the future for the people that are coming up behind us?
That really resonates with me. That's the same thing Spader did. Terry Spader was the owner when I came on, and a guy named Steve Eastbourne was running estimating. And both of them had, everyone there had it, but those two in particular had this vision of, hey, we need to move now. They were one of the early peoples to get pipe cutters. I remember Terry throwing $3 million at a fab shop going, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use it, but I know I need it. And, suffering the pain, because there's pain that goes with that. And I think we've come back to that a lot on the show, is that if leadership pushes, if leadership says we're going to do this, I think where I wanted to say something in regards to that is, I think there's this tension, like those older people that are pushing back a little against technology. I still wonder if there's a tension because of the pressure. You have the younger people come in, they don't have as much pressure on them. Someone that's been there, they're 50 years old, they're running everything. That owner has optimized their hours and they don't have any left. You know what I mean? My high performers, I use the hell out of them. I love your microdose version, Mike. I hadn't actually thought about it in those terms. I really love that. I'd love to see that made large into a strategy, because I feel like that may be, I think they microdose other training in sports for the same reason. It's like, we know we can't interrupt things, but we need to get that training in there.
And I'm sorry, let me give you just a very quick example, a real world example on bringing in the software stuff. And I'm gonna go back to Morrison. They're not paying me to talk about that today, but I'm just passionate about it. Morrison relined a blast furnace. Okay, they had to change out 22,000 feet of pipe in 30 days. A feat that was not possible. It couldn't even be done. The conversation was not there. But Morrison said that, hey, if we laser scan this entire furnace and pre-route the piping and prefab 100% of it, we can demo and install 22,000 feet in 30 days. We had the whole senior leadership that they're talking about this. And everybody got excited. And the old man in the job, the old man in the room, simply raised his hand and said, I got a question. What if it doesn't work? Very simple. We're leveraging everything on this new technology. What if it doesn't work? And people started grumbling, and he stopped. got up and stood up in front of the rooms. This is like huge, millions of dollars. What if it does not work? What are we going to do? And the young guy in the room, Josh Lambert, said, I have not quit a day in my life. Young guy. I have never failed because I've never quit. This company's been around 100 years because of that. If it doesn't work, we figure it out. And that's how we've got to where we are today. Then he looked at me and said, Mike, it better work, so, but what he had me do was during that outage, 30 days, morning to night, 12-hour shifts, I was out there micro dosing with those guys. The foremen were on that furnace, which is an absolute chaos going on. I was running around to them, showing them things on the iPad, helping them out where I could. We were all pulling on the rope together, and they finished it 2 days ahead of schedule, which is absolutely unheard of. So you need the guy in the room that's going to stand up and say, what if this does not work? What is the plan B?
Right.
And you need that team around you that's going to say, things are not going to work. It's not going to be 100%, but I could tell you what, we're not going to stop. We're not going to throw the towel in the we're not going to stop. We will figure it out. Mistakes will happen. I promise you that. We need the mentality that we are going to fix them.
And I think that it's an important thought for those out there that are listening that are like the contact interested that aren't sure how to get it going inside of their companies. Is you have to look around. Because we talk about it a lot too in kind of text and message threads and at conferences. You have to understand, we've talked about risk, we've talked about a lot of things, but one of the other things we have to talk about is the motivation. You have to look at your executive team, your ownership team. What motivates them? Are they the ones that have the 100-year company that want to keep it around for another 100 years? Yeah. Are they the kind that are like, to your earlier point about the $30 million company that uses zero technology, there probably are some out there because it suits the need of those in charge. So if you want to push this kind of stuff, you have to make sure that you're properly aligned with the organization that you're in. You're not going to get that, and we say it all the time too. It's like, I don't want to diss those people. Like, there's plenty of good reasons to have a company that pays for your house, pays for your boat, gets you a couple vacations a year. That is perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. But if you're working for one of those companies, you have to be aware of that and understand how you want to align your goals then as well.
Yeah. Travis, here's what I hope happens. I hope that the next conference I'm at, somebody puts their finger in my chest and says, hey, I'm a $30 million shop and I don't have any technology, and I want them to get mad at me. But then I want them to have a conversation with me, hopefully in a calm manner, about why technology is important. So I hope there's somebody out there that when they see me, they will prove me wrong. I really hope they're out there. And if you are, please come and see me. I'd love to talk to you about it. But let's have an open mind and let's have that discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I didn't even mean that as like a bad thing. There just could be a business owner out there that was very innovative in his younger years, that had a vision of where that company was going to be, and he might have got to that vision, and maybe that vision just stopped there. I mean, it does happen. It's not like like I said, he got closer and closer and closer, and then in the elder years, he was there, and it wasn't.
Yep.
Well, and that goes back to the risk conversation. He doesn't want to risk where he's gotten to, or he or she. They don't want to risk where they've gotten to. So why? What's the apple cart? Whatever that phrase is. Why upturn the apple cart? Like, just keep things going.
Well, but like you guys, I mean, all we do is look at the finish line in anything in life. We're always concerned about the finish line. If you're running a race, you're looking at the finish line. I'm sure Jeff Sample, when he's running that Ironman, all he cares about is that damn finish line, right? So we are only concerned with that finish line. And when you've got half a mile left in a 26-mile race, all you're concerned about is that last half a mile. So like you said, Trent, those people that got a half a mile left, listen, brother, they see that white stripe. That's what they're looking at. We're talking about the guys that got 20 miles left. They've got a long way to look down. So I really think that you have a really good point on that.
Yeah, I think that's the importance of handing the torch, the importance of apprenticeships.
Right.
It's like I know exactly how that individual got to where they're going, but when we want to keep things going, let's get the people behind us involved. It's the only way that we keep the perpetual motion.
In the trades, as an apprentice, when I was a first and second, third year apprentice out there in the field, I didn't know anything. There was no better feeling for a brother or sister about to retire than to pass their knowledge on to me as a young apprentice. There is, that is, it gives me chills thinking about it, that I spent time with those men and women out there who were 40 years in the, 40, 50 years in the trades, instilling that knowledge into me that you can't read in a book, that you can't watch a YouTube video on. They're teaching you life lessons on how to be successful, and it gives them such pride to be able to do that. It's such an amazing feeling,
Yeah.
It's really neat.
I had a foreman who wrote, I won't drop names there, but I got a very nice letter from somebody that I worked for as a young apprentice, that then years later was on a job that I was managing and worked for, and got just a really nice heartfelt letter from him. Like, just couldn't believe what you were able to accomplish, from working for me, and I think there was a big level of pride in himself that, I think, and rightfully so, he thought that he was responsible for a bit of that, and
he took this
cool.
idiot.
And he didn't fix that. But he did a really good job of giving an idiot some tools to not look quite so dumb, right? Yeah.
You're smart, man. You're very smart. I think. You're smart.
Could I bring you back to something you said before the podcast, because it's resonated a couple times. So I want to tell you, when I was at Spader, I obviously, had an engineering background more than a field background. I mean, I love building things, and I've been in the field a lot, but it's not where I live. And we were about to roll out iPads. This is generation 1, except I wasn't an iPad guy. I was an Android guy. One of my PMs, he walks up to me. He says, "Listen, I know this." He says, "I know right now iPads are a status symbol. They're the most expensive tablet out there. And if you give all those guys Androids, they're going to look like fools. So do iPads." And I like, this has nothing to do with anything. You have no idea. You're not a tech person. Just go away. I am so glad that he was able to outrank me and just say, "Shut up." So you had talked a little bit, we're called the Construction Dorks. I don't know that we could think of a more uncomfortable name, but like, that's it. How much has the image of technology affected its implementation on the job site, in your view? And has it started to improve? Like, are we getting to the point where people are like, no, you need to be, carrying the iPad versus drawings? Like where do you think we're at, and how do you think that sort of progressed? Because you had some funny examples before.
I don't know that I have any more funny ones, but here's what I'm seeing is that technology is progressing at an exponential rate. I mean, so even 10 years ago, it was kind of, weird to have an iPad on the job site. It was like, it was a status symbol. It was an iPad, like, there was an app on it, but like, it wasn't a construction tool. It was like, it was an Apple iPad. What are we doing here? That's obviously changed big time. What I'm seeing is that a couple things. So when I walk into an Apple store, I see kids in there, and I see 80-year-old people in there at the Genius Bar learning lessons on how to use these devices. It shows me that these devices are made to be used by anybody. To use Apple is just, they're really good at what they do. So the path of least resistance, I think, is an iOS device. But what we're seeing is that people growing up now, younger generations, are digital natives. All they know is technology. In the trades, these apprentices coming in at 18 years old, all they know is they don't know a life without it. Us on this podcast right now, we're old. I'm sorry. We're
Unfortunately, you're right. Yeah.
I'm 40 years old. I'm on the back nine. I think I'm starting the back nine. I just made the turn, but we're old. We know a life without technology, and oftentimes we reminisce about it. And we wish we could go back to the good old days of Nintendo and black and white TVs. Right? I wish I could go back to that sometimes. These kids nowadays, they're not kids. They're men and women. They don't know a life without it. These people our age, who are running these jobs, see that their kids are using iPads in school in kindergarten. They see that their kids want Meta, they want VR. people like me are watching the movie Ready Player One, and I'm like, I would do that. I'm okay with this. This is cool to me, So I think that we're seeing so much technology in the world that when we go to job sites, that's the only place where we're really not seeing it. So we're like, okay, what's going on here? Like, if it's everywhere else, and it is, I'm in a casino right now, and there's technology. I'm looking at these tables around me. There is not one person right now at a table that's not on their phone. Not one. Technology is everywhere we go. And that's just, I think, by process of nature, it's spilling over into construction. If everything we do is on a mobile device, everything outside of work, why would I put that down and take paper out now? If I could also do that on my mobile device, then why not? It's a path of least resistance for me. So I think people are starting to see that. If I can do everything on my iPad or my phone, cool. So I think that fortunately the pushback that we've gotten is getting less and less, and I think that's going to start going faster. I think in the next, everybody says 3 to 5 years. I really think by 2030, we will have an absolute all digital job site. Absolutely. I am not scared to say that. I think that paper is going by the wayside. I mean, I still like to watch The Office, but that's about as close as I get to actual paper. Does that make sense, John? I mean, am I speaking like crazy here? Or?
No, I mean, I think it exists now, man. I think there are a number of job sites probably out there in those small dynamic companies where you can get away from it, and some of the big companies that are right. Not all paperless, because that don't happen. But like are 99% paperless. Right. I had a foreman, Tim Devine, the one time. He said, I hate this, but I don't trust paper anymore. And it was like my favorite thing to hear is like, okay, you don't trust paper. I hate to say I've done my job, but like at some level, because too many RFIs were coming in and we were changing it too often. It wasn't getting down there, So like the acknowledgement of a new tool, I guess, Mike, part of what I'm wondering about, because I'm not in the field, is just how much pressure that younger generation is going to put on our seasoned veterans in the field to jump on board. Because I know I asked a younger guy a question and he said, "Do I look like Google?" And aside from wanting to smack the crap out of him immediately, I was like, "Oh, is the attitude that this, is that the new attitude?" And Travis, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that this alludes a little bit to the conversation we were having before recording. Like, I think that the consumer world and the form factor of the technology and everything, like when we were talking earlier about, that construction tech that shows up on the job site, this is a shout out to the old Contact crew. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers the image of Rob McKinney showing up, and he had like sensors all over his vest. He had an iPad strapped to his thigh. He had the HoloLens on. Like, the typical sheet metal or pipe fitter or whatever is going to beat the shit out of that guy, when they show up on the job site. But as the Contact world kind of realigned itself with the consumer world, like, we started to find form factors that work well. So I think that mindset's starting to change more and more.
For me, it's and this is where I pull on my heartstrings a little bit. I think an older journey worker, the thing they fear the most toward the end of their career is becoming irrelevant. I think they've been part of a team. They've been an important part of a team for 40 years plus. They've been a key decision maker on hundreds of job sites. And now they see that white line at the end, and they're becoming irrelevant. And there is no worse feeling in the world than dedicating your entire life to something, and at the end you're irrelevant. And I think what happens is these young people come on a job site and they don't have the knowledge that those people do. So they need to find relevance to get in. And the only thing they're good at is technology. They're digital natives. So I'm relevant with technology. You're scared of becoming irrelevant. When I was in front of first-year apprentices talking to them, I said, what you have to do, this is what I've recommended, and it worked. Find that old person on the job that is scared of becoming irrelevant. It is your duty to show them they are not irrelevant. Here's how you do that.
Yeah.
Hey, you've been in for 40 years. I want you to teach me something. In return, I'm going to reciprocate that and teach you how to use your iPhone on lunch. I'm going to teach you how to open up your email. And I'm going to, if you got a question on how to send a text message, I'm here to help you out, brother.
Yeah, I
want you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A lot, so I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I agree with you. I think it's the duty, and I think you want to get them involved, even in the tech. Even I like to have them involved in the development and the design of this tech too, because in the age of machine learning, in the age of LLMs, this stuff is going to learn from something, and we need to learn from the people that knew it best, and that's not the new generation. So as this stuff starts to iterate, its knowledge pool needs to involve the older generation that have the big knowledge in all of the things that we don't, that the younger ones aren't going to understand. So I want them involved, because if we move on without their knowledge, we're going to be worse off.
Here's a great example. There was a company, I'm sure you've heard of them, XOI. So what they had is they had a mobile solution where you could, shine your phone, you could see. So what they did, there was an HVAC company that used that technology. They had young techs in the field doing maintenance who were just 4 or 5 years in. They had those who were about to come irrelevant. I hate saying that. Getting ready to retire. They brought them into an office, and that person was now communicating with those 4 or 5 techs through this technology, seeing what they're seeing on a job site. So they're taking that 40, 50 years of experience, and now that person is consulting with 4 or 5 techs. So if that tech was on a job site and they had something they couldn't fix, they would use XOI, they would dial in, they got that tech who's in the office, and he's seeing what they're seeing. Oh, you got to do this, A, B, C, D, E, boom, problem diagnosed, problem solved. And now that person is relevant all over again. So let's find ways to maximize this knowledge, and they're relevant. And that small piece of technology was one solution, which was amazing. I love to see it.
Perfect example of what I was saying. Yeah,
for sure.
They need to be involved.
Right, exactly. They need to be involved, right?
We pay a lot of money for subject matter experts in software, man. Like not an insignificant amount.
And they're right in front of your face, right? I mean,
exactly. Like the guy in the field's way more better than.
Way more
because
better.
they don't use
way more better.
Yeah, because they don't
better English than me.
Yeah, they don't do online smart form surveys, so we miss their input, right? I mean, you got to go out there and get it. I mean,
people ask where they at. The UA has 350,000 members. They're out there. Yeah. You just got to go find one.
Yeah,
go throw a rock, you'll hit one.
They're not going to come to you. That's the thing.
No,
I can't remember what comedian is a comedian I follow all the time. He's like, the only people that you hear about on surveys are the ones that are dumb enough to get tricked into filling out a survey.
Yeah, a little bit of truth to that, right? I mean, yeah.
So we are kind of coming up on our normal our hour cutoff time, and I think that it's a perfect time to highlight. And Jeff not being here is kind of a perfect example of this. We're not only bringing Mike in as a guest, but we're opening the doors a little bit more and looking for some more support with the hosting abilities. We've been 4 years now. The Construction Dorks, it started during the pandemic. Super easy to make sure everybody was available. But now, we have real jobs, and we've all kind of transitioned on our roles in the time through the podcast life. So we're all getting back out there, and also relying on someone like Mike and some of you out there, if you're interested in reaching out. Like, it allows us to do some more dork on the street type interviews. So Mike, kind of welcome in, I guess, again. Yeah. So thank you.
Glad to be here. Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it. I love you guys. I have nothing but respect. You guys are all personal friends of mine, and I love what you're doing here. I love the Construction Dorks. I love technology. I love construction. I love learning, and I'm excited to be a part of this. And I look forward to some great conversation and doing some really neat stuff with you guys.
And Mike, I talked to you a little bit about this when we were talking about like how to make the dorks something that can be a little bit more relevant, and what you brought up is there's a lot of fear around technology. And, if we can get podcasts like this out to the union membership, if we can get it out to the people that are doing the work, if we can get it out to people in the field, maybe that starts to temper that. Maybe they start to feel like technology is more friendly to them. And, I also think, and I'm just going to say this, Mike, you can go to show after. I don't know how he does it. Like, he doesn't seem worn out. Maybe it's that he doesn't drink very much. I think maybe that's part of it.
That's a cheat code. I'm telling you. Yeah.
But with we love the shows. That's what this was set up around, is that time after the show. But then all of a sudden there's like I'm about to embark on a project where I'm not going to want to go to all the shows. So it was really nice for you to volunteer, but also, that idea that maybe we start to try to open it up to try to get our message out to the people that really need it, rather than talking to the echo chamber so often. And,
I would hope that an episode like today, those who are in that contact circle will share this podcast with some of those in the field, and I'll just quickly give you guys insight on how to stay vigilant at these shows. Is you got to be pro at the Irish goodbye, which I'm the best at. And I've been in Vegas all week at World of Concrete, and I've been in bed before 11 o'clock every night this week. So, I mean, I feel
congratulations, sir.
I've been here since Sunday, and I feel like $1 million right now sitting in a casino. So, I'm up at the craps table. I'm up this week, and I mean, I'm on cloud nine right now, so maybe I will drink tonight and just ruin all of that. So
we'll see. Hey, Mikey, are we going to see you? Are you going to be live with us like next week?
Yeah, I'll be. So I'm flying back to Naples.
Oh, that's right.
Tomorrow.
You're speaking. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm speaking on Monday. So I'll be on stage Monday. I'll be there from Sunday through Thursday morning. So I'll be there with you guys next week. Looking forward to it. And
so if you see Mike at the Signia Bar Sunday night, buy him an extra round.
I'll buy you a drink. Yeah, how about that? If you come see me, I'll buy you a drink. I don't know if this episode will be out before then, but I'll buy them a drink.
We're going to try to get the episode out. I think this is one of the few shows where everybody that is on the show is not just taking part, but like it's a lot.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
learned
what,
that.
This will be like this ticket. If you made it to the end here, and this is before the event, and you come and see me, this is your coupon for a free drink from Mike Z.
Yeah, code
you
word.
might want to
Omaha.
You might want to check your expense report limit there. I don't want to say too much being on the side of things, but this is the biggest MEP ever.
Okay, well, never mind then. Let's push this episode for. That's good. That's fun.
Poor Mike goes broke in 2 seconds.
No, I'm super excited. Having Mike in here now, it kind of like some more permanent cadre to what we're doing here. It just, we started this thing as a hobby, and it still is a hobby, right? This is just just people who are passionate about talking about their lives, and this is our life. But like Travis said, life be busy, and we don't. And there's been times where the show has really suffered because of that, because we were very dependent on ourselves to keep this thing going. And, we were never very regular. We missed, and a lot of us will miss shows and push things. And I think it's part of the reason why we never have been able to get this thing out to more people. And we just I just think we need more people involved, because it is important. I think we talk about important things. I think people like hearing what we have to say, but we just haven't always, made it a priority to get this thing out. Poor marketing. So I think it's a good thing. It's a welcome change that's going to, help us reach more people.
And I'm really hoping that, like, I talked to somebody, and they were really passionate about what they were doing in the field. And they're like, oh, well, I listen all the time. And I'm like, why don't you want to be on the show? And he's like, well, you have software people. I'm like, we do not need software people. We do not want software people.
If that's the image we have, we need to break that. Yeah.
We don't want that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, call us, man. If you're good in the field, you like tech, you want to talk, if you hate tech,
those are the most
and you
fun
wanna talk.
conversations. I mean, look, I especially now, I live the software world every day now. It's like I long to, I want to talk to the guy out. Yeah, if you're out in the field and you're somebody who's interested in tech, reach out to. I would much rather talk to you any day of the week right now. I mean,
And you know
it's
what?
a
Yeah,
warm welcome.
if you're a 30, 35-year-old foreman out there who's been doing it for 15 years and you're frustrated by this tech and you have things that you want to come on here and tell us why it doesn't work and what needs to change in the industry.
Right.
You need to come on here, you know.
Yeah, let's do it.
That was one of my favorite things that I would say when I was doing the contact stuff for Helm was like, tell me where I'm stupid. I don't know.
Yeah.
I need to know where I'm stupid.
Yeah, and to you foremen out there, I mean, I look at what our demographics are. We have a lot of the software suppliers listening. So if you want a place to bitch that where you're actually going to get heard,
there's your platform.
Right. This is it. And we ain't going to cut you off. We're probably just going to pile on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I will speak for Mike and Trent on this. Like, the software people actually appreciate it. Like, they don't want to make a product that nobody wants.
No.
Yeah, that's bad business. Yeah.
We're all in the game now, especially from the vendor side. I have a product that I support here. We want to know what needs to be fixed. We're not perfect. Nobody out there is, and we can always improve. And absolutely, Travis, tell us how to make it better. We're listening. We are listening.
Perfect. I think that's the right right place to end this. Yep. Right place to wrap it up. So, Mike, thank you so much for jumping on and jumping on board. This has been episode Fellowship of the Pipe. Wow. Fellowship of the Pipe. There we go. Yeah. Tell us where we're stupid.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Mikey.
Nice, no, come on.